as a teenager, while Green Goblin got his powers from a variation of spider venom that also gave Spider-Man his powers. It would have a video game tie-in in 2005 with Ultimate Spider-Man for the PlayStation 2 and the Xbox. As for the series, it lasted for 200 issues, seeing Ultimate Spider-Man deal with his own version of Venom, the Sinister Six, and even the Clone Saga, which was actually handled quite well in comparison to the regular line. Towards the end, Spider-Man would die saving Aunt May's life, with a new hero, Miles Morales, stepping into the Spidey role, first appearing in Ultimate Fallout number 4 on August of 2011, created by Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli. He was a black Puerto Rican kid from Brooklyn whose uncle is the villain the Prowler, and inadvertently gets bitten by a similar spider that gave Peter Parker his superpowers. However, while he gets similar powers to Peter Parker, such as super strength and the ability to cling to walls, he also is able to produce electrical strikes and turn invisible. Taking up the Spider-Man mantle wouldn't be easy in the comics, as Peter's clone slash sister, Spider-Woman, immediately objected to it, and in the media, with some objecting to his being a creation as a PC version of Spider-Man due to his race. However, Miles Morales quickly won over everyone in the comics and the real world and has since become a regular fixture at Marvel, even being incorporated into regular continuity when the Ultimate line was ended following the Secret Wars event of 2015, and has since made numerous appearances in other media as well, most notably in 2018 Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse movie. Don't worry, we will get to that. Meanwhile, back in the regular comic books, J. Michael Straczynski, most notable as the creator of the classic Babylon 5 TV series, and John Romita Jr., obviously the son of the great John Romita Sr., along with being my personal favorite comic artist, took over the regular Amazing Spider-Man comic with issue number 30 on 2001, its regular numbering being number 471. As part of their run, Peter Parker became a teacher at Midtown High School in issue number 31, while also meeting Ezekiel, a mysterious man with spider-like powers who makes Peter Parker question just what his powers really are. Simply put, was it the radiation in the spider that gave him his powers, or the spider itself? Spider-Man would also have to face off against Morlun, a vampire-like being that feeds off people with powers like him. This would only be the start of the acclaimed run, which would win the Eisner in 2002 for Best Serialized Series, while Amazing Spider-Man number 36 dealt with the real-world event of 9/11. In issue number 35, Aunt May discovered Peter was Spider-Man, and then, in perhaps the most controversial story of JMS's run, it was revealed that Gwen Stacy had an affair with Norman Osborn in issue number Amazing Spider-Man number 509, resulting in a set of twins with powers due to his Goblin serum. By January 2005, Spider-Man was part of the Avengers, and in Amazing Spider-Man number 518, he and his family moved to the Avengers mansion when their home was destroyed, where he had to deal with Wolverine constantly hitting on Mary Jane. Apparently, Logan has a thing for redheads. He also started to work for Tony Stark Iron Man as his assistant, starting to view him as a mentor. Then, in the other crossover, which went from Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 4, MK Spider-Man number 19, and Amazing Spider-Man number 525, Spider-Man believes he's dying, only to morph into a new, more powerful Spider-Man with organic web shooters. This would create some controversy with fans who objected to Spider-Man not having mechanical web shooters, as it took away from his genius as an inventor. However, Stan Lee has mentioned in later interviews that he wished he hadn't given Spider-Man such an intellect, as it took away from him being a normal kid/man. Plus, if Peter Parker was able to create such a web shooter in Fluid, why was he still so poor? Especially when his other geniuses in the Marvel Universe, from Reed Richards to Tony Stark, do quite well for themselves. At the very least, he could help Aunt May out with her bills. It will be a problem that still plagues Spider-Man Peter Parker to this day. Changes in Spider-Man's life kept happening as well, as in the Civil War event of 2006, in which he worked with Tony Stark/Iron Man to help with the Registration Act, calling for superheroes to now register with the government, and in a show of solidarity, reveals his identity to the public in Civil War number 2 on June of 2006, resulting in J. Jonah Jameson fainting to hilarious effect. However, when Black Goliath is killed by Clor, the clone of Thor, Spider-Man changes to Captain America's side, and due to his identity being made public, Aunt May is shot in the Amazing Spider-Man number 537 on December of 2006, with Peter Parker returning to his black Spider-Man outfit to reflect his new outlook on life. The story was so significant, especially Spider-Man unmasking itself, it ran in the New York Post and the BBC on June 15, 2006. Overseas, Spider-Man India was released by Gotham Entertainment in June of 2004 by Jovan J. Khan about Fateh Provakar, an Indian boy living in Mumbai who gets his powers from an ancient god to battle evil. However, he gets wrapped up in his new abilities and fails to prevent a mugging, leading to his Uncle Bim, spelled B-H-I-M, being killed. It would later go on to fight against an evil crime lord, Nayland Obari, who transforms into Rakasha, a demon that stood in for the Green Goblin. It would last for 4 issues, eventually being translated and published in the United States in 2005, and while this version of Spider-Man has made sporadic appearances ever since in comics and video games. In 2003, to appeal to younger readers, Marvel Age was launched with Marvel Age Spider-Man lasting for 20 issues in May of 2004. Later, Marvel Mangaverse Spider-Man, which featured Mary Jane and Spider-Girl by Kara Andrews, and later Spider-Man Loves Mary Jane on December of 2005 to July of 2007 by Sean McKeever and Takeshi Mizama, which lasted for 20 issues. The series actually starred Mary Jane Watson dealing with her life as a teenager, making this more of a teen drama over a superhero book, though Spider-Man and his villains do appear from time to time. The comic was also out of continuity with the regular Marvel series, notably with MJ living with her parents over her aunt. Later, a Spider-Man collectible appeared in the New York Post for 24 installments and then $10 million in circulation. And as you can see with this episode, Spider-Man's late 80s through the 90s was a pretty jumbled mess, from the Spider-Clone saga to some highs like the Spider-Man TV show. But going into the 2000s, he's about to have one of the highest moments of his life as Spider-Man finally swung onto the big screen. And now it is September 5th, 2019, time for the favorite comic book of the week. Spawn, number 300, by Todd McFarlane and various other writers and artists, which is a celebration of the now classic Image character by Todd McFarlane that finds us catching up with what L. Simmons / Spawn has been up to, along with setting up for the future, and as Todd McFarlane likes to proudly state, another 300 issues if possible. This is a pretty good issue that does catch you up on what the character's been up to, and of course, with multiple stories, setting up new characters and old, along with the second one being the standout, as written by Scott Snyder of the Batman fame. And interesting enough, his co-penciler Greg Capullo actually returns to Spawn as well in the opening storyline. But the second one was the big one, that finds Spawn going after his main enemies, and the big highlight is that Todd McFarlane finally returns to penciling his classic character, which is always great to see. Overall, not the best issue, a little ups and downs, but since it's a milestone, it's definitely worth picking up and reading. And of interesting note, this is not the biggest historical issue. As Todd McFarlane points out, it's going to be issue number 301 that's the history makers, because then Spawn will officially become the longest-running independent creator-owned comic in the world, beating out Dave Sin's Cerebus, which only went to 300. So, there you go. If you really want to get a real classic issue, even though this is a pretty good one, 301 next month, that's the one to pick up. And that's about it for now, though I will do a fun little recap about Dragon Con, which was a lot of fun this year. My favorite was, practically the only convention I go to this year outside SC Comic Con. But I got to see Marv Wolfman and George Perez and many other great DCRs like Keith Giffen and Fabian Nicieza, and tons of fun, great panels, got the cosplay as the Shadow, the Dragon Con parade, and got more recognized than I thought it would. Just a lot of fun. Of course, with the Mosers, James and Jessica, who they do a killer Doctor Strange and Black Widow. Always fun to go around. And of course, Thunder Talk was down there as well. Old Dan was running around with Cybertronic Spree, and Adam was getting his first Dragon Con experience, and he seemed to survive. We'll see, though he should never eat turkey sandwiches again. That boy ain't right. And, of course, Nerbless was down there with Chris and Tina, also represented upstate South Carolina's podcasting network. Always great to be down there. DragonCon, it's a lot of fun. Though, as now a podcaster, coming a little bit more of a business side, but hey, great times all around. And anyone's ever chance to go to DragonCon at least once, definitely go. It's the official party con, and I highly recommend to go every time. And with that, we will conclude this episode. But join me again next week when we do the concluding episode of the History of Spider-Man. And until then, go out and enjoy yourself a good comic book.